So hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. Now today we're going to be talking about the PFL. Now if you're a very dialed MMA fan, you have probably heard about Francis Ngannou essentially fleecing the PFL for as much money as he can get while fighting as little as possible. And in addition to that, UFC has secured a deal with Paramount Plus to essentially replace their pay-per-view model come 2026. And none of this looks very good for the PFL. The PFL is going to need to do some massive strides if they want to compete with the UFC and one championship and or surpass those organizations. I don't see that happening, but I'm going to suggest some ideas that I think would greatly improve their product and would also improve their ability to market to fighters and get good fighters under their roster. So priority number one is getting rid of the season format. I'm telling you guys, we don't care. The season format, the team format, whatever you want to do. For MMA, it has never worked. It will never work. We don't care. Put on fights consistently and put them on often. That is it. There's no magic to it. There's no trickery with it. I think the only thing keeping this format alive is that $1 million prize at the end of the season, but this has still got to change, right? And I think it'd be a pretty awkward transition from going from seasons to your more standard champion and contenders format. So my idea to make this transition as smooth as possible would be doing a 4-man tournament for each weight class to crown a champion, and then from that point on just do normal championships and contenders. I think this format would be much more exciting. One, because if people get injured, you could also have alternates come in. Number two, right? If people lose in the tournament, it's not like they're just knocked out of it and you're not going to see them fight for a long time. They can still work their way back up into contendership and fight pretty often. What I think PFL does to shoot itself in the foot pretty consistently is have these high profile guys like maybe a Shane Burgos, an Anthony Pettis, and when they lose in their regular seasons, they get booted and then you hear nothing about them. And it's just a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of talent to just bench these guys until next season, and then we'll see if they get the championship next time. I also think this format would lend itself to more spontaneity in MMA, right? Where you might have someone come in as an alternate, someone gets injured, and then they upset a really big favorite. They upset the champion, right? This switches things up. Now, in MMA, especially in the UFC, it can be annoying when a fight that you're really excited to see, two guys that, have been waiting to fight each other forever, gets completely thrown out the window by injuries, accidents, illnesses. It sucks, but it's what keeps the MMA exciting. It's what creates storylines, and the season format does not lend itself to creating storylines very often. Like, it's too sanitized, it's too safe. Like, this isn't soccer. Go back to soccer. I want to see MMA. I want random shit to happen. All right, now priority number two is splice in kickboxing and Muay Thai fights into your MMA events. I really think that an American audience would take very well to this. All right, if you've ever been to a local regional MMA show, you'd be surprised by how many very excited and eager fans are watching it and have no idea what they're watching. They don't know the rules, they don't know the scoring. They're just there off of vibes and excitement. I also think it's really strange that when PFL bought Bellator, they did nothing with the kickboxing. Right? There are so many Muay Thai fighters and kickboxers in America that are just not able to get fights. It's not a very common thing. You'd probably need to go pretty far, or maybe to another country in America, to get consistent kickboxing and Muay Thai fights. I think they should be the mecca for striking sports in America. I think PFL should really take a page out of One Championship's book and throw in these different styles. I don't think jiu-jitsu matches or grappling matches would do super well juxtaposed with MMA and kickboxing, but Muay Thai, kickboxing, MMA, that would be a nice palate cleanser where the people that are like, oh, like, stop hugging, I don't want to see takedowns, whatever, that straight kickboxing, straight Muay Thai, just straight standing and banging would be perfect for them, and they wouldn't have too much to complain about throughout the entire card. You get what I'm saying? Priority number three is going to be the pay structure. Now, MMA fighter pay is a very hot button topic. There was a whole lawsuit over it, right? It's controversial, and you're not going to change that. You might as well feed into that, right? You might as well make what fighters are getting paid an exciting part of the spectator sport. So this is my idea to make that a much more exciting aspect of the fights in and of itself. So before the contract is even signed, I think there should be a bonus attributed to how long of a notice you have. So if you're taking it and you're not getting a full camp, that should be reflected in how much you're getting paid. The thing that really annoys me about the UFC, and more specifically Dana White, is when they say, oh, you're here to take risks. This is an opportunity. It's not a job. It's not a 9 to 5, that kind of thing. But when guys take risks, and it doesn't work out for them, they're kind of left in the cold. Like, think like Justin Gaethje. He didn't have to fight Max Holloway. But when I think about that card where they fought on, I can't remember what the main event was. I honestly can't. But I remember that moment. That did a lot for the UFC. And now he's kind of getting fucked over for taking that fight. I think if they say that they want fighters who take risks, they should reward risk. And this would be the perfect thing to reward risk before it's even taken. All right, now let's go to the actual fight purse. I think that show win pay structure is so archaic. Throw that shit out the window. No one likes that. Fighters don't like that. And fighters often, get fucked over by bad judging. So take that completely out of the equation. In my opinion, it should be show money and then bonus money, and that's it. But obviously, make these bonuses stackable. So here's my proposal. You have your show money, and if you get a finish, submission, knockout, whatever, you 100x your show money. On top of that, for just performances, if you don't get a finish, right? If you knock down your opponent, you get a 50% bonus. But these wouldn't stack on top of each other, the knockdown bonuses. You get one knockdown, and then every other time you knock them down, you don't get a bonus for that. So people don't try to farm the system. Same thing goes for takedowns and submission attempts, right? You get a takedown, you go for a submission attempt. I would consider that equal in scoring to getting a knockdown. You'd obviously need judges, refs to point to a catch like they do in ONE FC. But this would incentivize just good fights, taking risks. On top of that, you could reward really rare techniques. So let's say someone gets a finish, but they get a spinning back elbow finish. I think they should get a bonus for a spinning technique, a spinning back fist, maybe a high kick or a flying knee. That should go under rare techniques. Or let's say someone gets a go-go plata or a buggy choke. Rare technique, that should be incentivized so you can invest in the martial arts. Now, this is a fun idea for me, but I think it'd be interesting if you had random bonuses, so a random technique that the fighters don't know they'd be compensated for if they hit it in their fight that week. So let's say you give someone a 25% bonus for hitting a John Wayne sweep, right? No one's going to try and farm a John Wayne sweep, but if it happens, that's awesome. That's cool. They get rewarded for that, and they weren't even expecting that. Or for 1 week, you have a 100% bonus for a heel hook, right? This would make what fighters are getting paid an interesting aspect of the sport to follow, right? Those articles you see on Yahoo Sports News or whatever, where they break down what each fighter got paid, for the most part, they're all bullshit anyway, and they're boring. But this would be way cooler to see. This would be, it's intentionally complicated, but it would be way more interesting as a spectator sport to have this level of intricate bonus systems for what the fighters are making. It's easier to talk about. It's more fun. I think for kickboxing and Muay Thai, this bonus system would get a lot more interesting. So let's say if you knock down your opponent in Muay Thai or kickboxing, you get a knockdown bonus, 50%, right? But each subsequent knockdown after that is worth nothing. Now, in the second round, it refreshes. So now if you knock down your opponent again in that second round, you get another knockdown bonus. Each subsequent knockdown is not worth more in that same round. I think that would incentivize, one, for fighters to go absolute ham and fight like they have nothing to lose, but it would make kickboxing, Muay Thai, especially in 4-ounce gloves, a lot more exciting. And on top of that, you could have your knockdown, and then you could have, let's say 25%, maybe 20% for a sweep, like catching a kick and tripping them over is a sweep. You don't get subsequent sweep points or bonuses, but that also refreshes each round. So priority number 4, this is timing and social media promotion. Now this is my least in-depth and probably least helpful suggestion, but the timing of the cards. In my opinion, every card for PFL that happens on US soil should happen on Fridays, right? It would be a much more complicated thing to try and time them when the UFC is not having a card or they're not having a pay-per-view, right? That is going to be too many moving pieces. But Friday cards would be perfect. PFL for Fridays, UFC for Saturdays. And if the PFL can get to a level where they're competing with the UFC, then try to have it on Saturday. That would be more interesting. Now, as far as marketing, it feels like every time there's a PFL card, it's like you got to go to some random witch in the bot and like under a bridge and give her a passcode, and then she'll whisper it to you. But you got to write it down within 30 minutes, or you're gonna forget. You're gonna amnesia it out of your brain. It's like they're keeping it a fucking secret when they're having PFL cards. All right, the marketing, it's expensive, and I don't really have a concrete way of how you can make the marketing superior. But honestly, PFL fighters do a better job of advertising themselves than the actual PFL does. There's that one guy, undefeated kickboxer Pergante, and I remember turning on a card for PFL randomly, and I saw him fighting, and I knew him because I saw one of his TikToks. And I didn't even know he was a PFL fighter. I just recognized him, and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that guy before. He makes cool stuff. So obviously PFL does have some standouts. You have Dakota Ditcheva, you have Kayla Harris, but most of the people that have a big name value are transplants from the UFC to PFL. So there's no easy answer on how to promote fighters better, but I think getting PFL to be something that MMA fans talk about more widely, meme about more widely, make videos about more widely is a good start, is a good stepping stone to having more of your fighters become household names and not relying on one or two people that you will eventually have go to the UFC to build your brand.